So our goal for today is for you to leave here with a clear understanding of the changes that have been made to the training package and the components, why we've made them, the consultation that we've gone through to make those changes, and hopefully that you'll walk away after this feeling confident about the changes and being able to implement them and use them in your RTO. Also, you might walk away with a few professional contacts that you can contact and work with later on after this session. So what we'll speak about today, we'll give a bit of an overview. Like I said, we'll go through the bit of a background, we'll go through the new components. We'll also look at companion volumes and foundation skills as well. So if you have any questions, please speak up as we go along, and we'll have a bit of discussion around them. The Community Services and Health Industry Skills Council, we look after two training packages, the Health and the Community Services training package. The new training packages, HLT and CHCO8, collectively have about 103 qualifications and I think it's 735 units of competency. We look after a wide variety of different sectors, so disability, aged care, dental, nursing, ambulance. There's a whole range of different sectors that we look after. And you're all going to be at different points on using the new components and the new training packages, the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander qualifications and their components, as well as the children's services were released and endorsed back in 2013, so they've been in the system for a little while. There was a chunk that was endorsed recently, and then the remaining of the training package will be endorsed at the end of the year. So each person here will have varying degrees of their use of the training packages. So we'll work through that, but I suppose today is just to get a general overview of how best to understand it. So we start off today with, you're all probably here with a range of different questions that you want answered. We'll try and get through as many as we can, but the first activity is if you just introduce yourself to the people at your table. Spend a couple of minutes just having a chat around what you want to get out of today, and if you have any burning questions, and then prioritise those questions into top three, and we're going to have 3 questions from each table that we'll write up on the board. And then throughout the day, we generally cover most of them through what we do and the content that we cover. If there is any questions at the end, we can cover them, and if we have time. We'll also have a frequently asked questions. We'll be collating all of them, and we'll put them all up on our website for you to access once we finish all these workshops. So I'll give you a bit of time, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, just to go around and have a chat at your table and come up with 3 questions that we'll write up on the board. All good questions, and we'll probably answer some of them as we go along. Some are quite specific, and so we'll wait till the end to answer some of them, and you'll probably have some more questions as we go along the way. So I'll start by giving a bit of a background of how we got to the changes and the consultations that we went through and who was involved in things. So we'll start with this slide, the drivers for change. I can understand there is a lot of change for RTOs. There's a lot of change that we, as an Industry Skills Council, has had to reflect in the training package as well, from industry reform to vet system reform as well. So we'll start with industry reform. So some people have said, as up the front here, about the changes in the labour market. We have an ageing population. That's just not going to affect the aged care workforce. It's going to affect leisure and health. It's going to affect hospitals. It's going to affect mental health. Older people are going to have coexisting issues. They might have a disability. So it's far-reaching, the ageing population. There's also an increased need for workers. The Community Services and Health Industries in 2013 employed 1.4 million workers. By 2018, that needs to increase by about 230,000, which is about a 16% increase, which makes us the fastest growing industries of any other industries, and it's probably set to continue past 2018. Changes in policy and service delivery. So we have it's changes in consumer-directed care, person-centred approaches for disability and aged care. There's probably a range of different policy changes in the sectors that you work for as well, which we need to reflect in the units to ensure that people coming out with its qualifications have an understanding of those policy changes. Changes in philosophy, terminology, modes of practice, changes in technology. These all need to be reflected in the qualifications and the words that are written in the training package. Regulations, we have minimum qualifications for early childhood education and care, Aboriginal health workers, enrolled nursing, dental, prosthetics. They're all minimum qualifications for the sectors. So we need to ensure that they're meeting the industry requirements. There's been concerns about current delivery, the lack of practicum and the application of skills and knowledge in the workplace. If I go to RTO-A and RTO-B, RTO-A has done it in a week and RTO-B has done it in 12 months. So it's about increasing, I suppose, the minimum consistency of that person and the outcome of that person and their ability to work and apply those skills and knowledge in their work. Length of training, we had about the volume of learning, and I suppose it's something we may as well touch on now because the training packages are silent on the volume of learning. We can't specify in the training package the volume of learning for any qualification, unit of competency. The volume of learning under the standards for RTOs that come out 2015 specify that they must align to the AQF, the Australian Qualifications Framework. The Australian Qualifications Framework has set periods for the volume of learning for different qualifications. That's well outside the scope of the Industry Skills Council, setting the Australian Qualifications Framework. The Australian Qualifications Framework was set, I think, about 2 years ago now, and it specified the volume of learning, and regulators are auditing on the volume of learning. It's a ASQA auditing issue, and it's a AQF. That's where that's specified. We can't specify any volume of learning in the training package. I mean, does anyone have any comments or anything? I hear what you're saying, but in terms of the training package, we can't say it should be from 6 months to 12 months because it's not auditable. Because it's going to
impact so heavily on the whole nation, nursing-wise, and we have got an aged care population that needs these nurses, and there's not going to be any. Don't you think isn't there something that we can do collectively via a survey or a petition or something? And this is supposed to have already been done, but who they asked, I'd like to know.
Yeah, I mean, the volume of learning, there's a definition on the AQF website about the volume of learning and what it entails and what it doesn't. I mean, that was, again, set by the people who developed the AQF. There was a body for the AQF. They no longer exist anymore. They don't exist, so that's been set, and it's really under the jurisdiction, I suppose, of ASQA. And so that's what they audit to. And then there's drivers in the vet system. There's standards for training packages that came out in 2012, which every Industry Skills Council and every single training package must align to, or should align to, by the end of this year. So because we hadn't reviewed the HLT07 or CHC08, done a complete review of those training packages since 07 and 08, so 7 and 8 years, we took the opportunity to do a complete review to ensure that the qualifications and the units reflected the industry outcomes. So we took a little bit of a different approach because we hadn't reviewed those training packages in that amount of time. So the current review, it commenced in 2011, and as I said, we wanted to ensure that the decisions that we were making was based on solid evidence from industry. And I'll go through the next slide about the industry consultation that we did have. But it was about capturing from the full range of vet stakeholders, industry and vet. We always had our drafts available on our website for anybody to comment on. It was ensuring the integrity of sector requirements maintained, looking at those job roles and ensuring that they meet the requirements of industry and really reflect those job roles that they represent. Maximising cross-sector commonalities. You'll see that we've already had the suggestion that some qualifications have been merged where there's common underpinning skills and knowledge that they have. Minimising duplication and inconsistencies between sectors. So minimising duplication, there was a lot of duplication across units. So we had however many units on communication, for example. One for communication for aged care, one for allied health, one for nursing, one for this, one for that. Communication is communication. And you could contextualise communication to what it needed to be within that sector. So it was about looking or taking a helicopter view of the training packages and removing those units and coming up with a suite of units that could be used across the training package. Developing additional qualifications and skill sets for new and emerging roles and gaps. So an example is in allied health, where we developed some units around specifically social work assistants. So that was a new emerging role. There's been a couple of other units and things that we have developed along the way, as well as qualifications. Ensuring compliance with training package policy. We need to ensure that the changes that we made met the training package, the 2012 standards for training packages. Ensuring consistent alignment to the Australian qualifications framework. We looked at every single qualification, and there is the Australian qualifications framework, as we know, and there's set criteria of what you kind of align a qualification to. Some qualifications, such as complementary and alternative health, have been removed from the vocational education and training sector because they have, in consultation with industry, those roles have moved up into a higher education. So those quals are no longer in the vet system. And allowing for flexibility and portability. So we looked at the electives that were there and made sure there was enough flexibility for them to be packaged up, and that the packaging rules within those qualifications provided for flexibility to meet the different roles and needs of industry. So this is the governance structure that we had. The Community Services and Health ISC works under a board. We have a joint training package advisory committee, so that's health and community services. We then looked at the training package and divided it up into 10 aligned groups. So we had one for direct client care, which was mental health, AOD, aged care, disability. There's a range of different ones. In that one, there's technicians, there's enrolled nursing, there's ambulance. There was 10 different sectors that we divided the training packages up to, and they each had an industry reference group, which was made up of key stakeholders from those particular areas. We then had 66 subject matter expert groups, and they were specific groups that looked at the content of the unit and how that package was going to be, how that qualification was going to be packaged up. The subject matter expert groups, the requirements to be on a subject matter expert group was either someone working in the role that qualification was reflecting, someone supervising someone in that role, or someone with quite extensive skills and knowledge in that sector. We also had some specific working groups, and similar to SMEGS, they were quite specific to certain industries, but they met more on an ad hoc as required basis to look at certain things. And then throughout everything, we always had our drafts up on our website for public consultation, so anybody could go in and provide feedback. And I can tell you, we received about 20,000 pieces of feedback since we started this process, ranging from specific wording changes to a performance criteria to 10 to 20 pages worth of feedback. And the SMEGS looked at and considered every single piece of feedback along the way. And those consultations were on our website anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks. So there was, we had different drafts as well. So some sectors had 2 drafts, some sectors had 4 drafts. So, there was a lot of consultation that undertook. We also, in some sectors, we had face-to-face consultations as well. So there was a lot of evidence that we gathered along the way. This slide just shows some of the key stakeholders, I suppose, that we did consult with, and there's probably a lot more that aren't there as well. This was our project plan. Phase 1, the first thing we do when we looked at the review was to do a functional analysis of the job. Very first meeting, people brought in job descriptions and the range of different things from the workplace, and we looked at them and said, well, what's changed from what's currently there and what needs to change to reflect that? We came up with a draft. We put that draft up on our website. It was, like I said, there from anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks. Collated all that feedback, took that back to the subject matter expert group, reviewed that with them, came up with another draft. And as I said, we had anywhere from 2 to 4 drafts. Phase 4 is about making sure that it aligns to the standards. We obviously do internal QA, ensuring that it does, but we also have to have that externally validated. So we go through an editorial report, an equity report, and everything. Every single unit is quality assured and qualification. Phase 5, the endorsement process. Everything is endorsed by the Australian and Industry Skills Committee that was formed earlier this year. It replaced the National Skills Standards Council about 2 years ago, and then there was an interim process, and now it's the AISC. So the endorsement process, those kind of 4 middle ones reflects the last slide, really, and that's our industry consultation. The endorsement, we submit a case for endorsement, and that's up on our website when we do. The chunk that was just endorsed recently, we submitted to the AISC on the 8th of May and put everything up on our website. The case for endorsement, the implementation guide, every single unit, every single qualification was put up there when we submitted for endorsement. And we were hoping for endorsement around June. They usually take about 6 weeks. But we received notification on the 27th of July, and then they were up on training.gov not too long after that. It's the Industry Skills Council that puts everything up at the back end of training.gov. So when we submit, that's usually what we're doing in that period is uploading everything to the back end.